The exciting story begins with a lady trapped inside an airtight chamber. There was no way out from inside the chamber, and the oxygen there was gradually depleting. The lady tries hard to escape but to no avail. Suddenly, a voice is heard from the chamber. It turns out to be the AI system of the entire system named Milo. Milo asks the lady to provide the proper code if she wants to get out. However, the lady cannot remember anything, forgetting everything from her name to other details. Milo, the AI system of the chamber, informs her that without the correct code, he cannot let her go. At this point, Milo shows her reflection, and the lady begins to witness strange visions, including seeing a mouse wandering inside a small maze. What could be the relationship between all these things? We'll find out shortly. The lady now asks Milo to dial an emergency number, which Milo listens to carefully and dials the emergency number. The call was connected directly to a police officer, to whom the lady explains everything, that she is trapped in a chamber but doesn't know its location. The police officer insists that she must provide some location so they can proceed with their investigation and rescue her. Therefore, the lady looks around and finds a model number inside the machine, which she tells the police officer. She also mentioned that they could trace her call to reach her location. After the connection is fully established, the lady tells Milo to take her blood sample test because she needed to retrieve all her information. Milo quickly tests the lady's blood sample and matches it with the entire universal database. After a short while, she found her match, who was a scientist named Elizabeth Helson. The lady discovered her real name, which was Elizabeth. However, she had no idea how she ended up in this place and why she was there. Suddenly, the same police officer calls again, gathering information from Elizabeth. The police officer asks Elizabeth if the oxygen level there is stable or not. When Elizabeth looked around, there was only 31 units of oxygen left, meaning she had only 1 hour of oxygen remaining. She would be in danger once the hour passed, but the police officer reassures Elizabeth. If she continues to panic like this, the police officer asks Elizabeth to find the owner's name in the entire chamber, but Elizabeth does not see any name there. Now, the police officer's call has also been disconnected in a short time. Inside, Elizabeth began to feel quite tense and became very upset, so she asks Elizabeth if I should give you medicine, so that you will die and you will not feel your body at all. But Elizabeth refused all these things and told Milo to take more information about me. Elizabeth herself had published many books and articles and realized that she was a very big doctor who had contributed to many important experiments. Elizabeth opens her social media account, which has clicked many photos with a man. Now Elizabeth had to find out who the man was. So she says to Milo, dial this man's phone number, because I want to talk to him. Milo does just that and the call starts ringing. On the other end, a lady picks up the call, after which Elizabeth says she wants to talk to her husband. Suddenly, the woman on the other side starts yelling loudly and disconnects the call immediately. Elizabeth doesn't understand what happened, but now she is completely trapped in this chamber. Due to being highly frustrated for such a long time, Elizabeth tries to escape from the chamber, but the chamber was completely locked with no way out. Suddenly, near Elizabeth's feet, she sees the same white mouse she had seen inside her visions. Elizabeth gets very scared seeing the mouse and starts screaming, but after some time, she becomes completely normal because she thought this could also be one of her visions. In a little while, Elizabeth receives a call from the same police officer. The police officer informs Elizabeth that we have found out everything about your mother. You used to live with your mother, but Elizabeth, who has taken out the information, according to her, was saying that I used to live with my husband, not with my mother. The police officer keeps saying this again and again that your information is wrong. Therefore, Elizabeth checks back the photos to see who was present in the photo, but now in all the photos, Elizabeth was alone. Elizabeth says I had full confidence that I saw my husband, but the police officer kept thinking Elizabeth was wrong. Then Elizabeth, in the correct background of the police officer, was also hearing voices of someone else's saying that it was making all this happen, and call back to connected Elizabeth. Milo said show me all recordings. After listening to them very well, showed Elizabeth was the police officer behind, sure was forcing him to do it all, but had Elizabeth thinking behind it. Now, within a short while, Elizabeth receives a call from the same lady who had disconnected the call a while ago. The lady tells Elizabeth that she knows everything, where she is and the code to exit the chamber. She also knows the information you collected about your husband. He has unfortunately passed away. This information starts spinning Elizabeth's mind because she cannot comprehend it. She was just asking the lady for the code to exit the chamber. Although the lady quickly tells her the code, she warns Elizabeth not to mistakenly come out of her chamber because right now she is not on Earth but in some other mission in space. If you open your chamber, you could get lost in space where there is no oxygen, meaning you could intentionally die. but Elizabeth, troubled, asks why was I sent into space? Then present on the call, the lady informs that a very dangerous virus had spread on Earth, due to which her husband was also killed, meaning the number of humans had decreased so much that we all together did a mission and some people were ready for a space mission which would travel in space for 30 years. But now the most shocking thing is that Elizabeth's sleep has opened before time, which means now Elizabeth can be wake up and get out of the chamber. Both are impossible. The police officer asked the lady was understanding Elizabeth that the police officer knows you are present there and he is also able to save you, so she wants to reduce the oxygen level by telling her way so that you can die for a long time without being disturbed. She was saying that you will have to go into hibernation mode, but hibernation mode could only be possible when the oxygen level 2 was at a status when humans reach the brain with very little oxygen, and if a small mistake happened, Elizabeth would be killed immediately. After talking about all this, the call would also be disconnected. Elizabeth now understood that no matter what she does, she can't leave this place. Now she is in space, so she cannot go anywhere. Elizabeth now understood that many parts of her entire system were badly damaged, which is why the oxygen was falling very quickly, which means that now only 20 minutes are left for her to stay alive. At this moment, Elizabeth began to remember many old visions, in which she was treating her husband Leo, as he had been affected by the virus. Elizabeth couldn't understand how to save her husband, but Elizabeth's husband Leo, whose name was taken, understood that it is impossible to save him, so he held his wife's hand, taking his last breath and saying, "We will definitely meet ahead." At that time, Elizabeth was very sad because she was losing the person she loved the most, because she saw her most loved human in front of her die, and now suddenly Elizabeth came to her senses. Like Leo, many people have been killed and now Elizabeth was suddenly aware of her, so now, Milo begins to remove all the screens and makes everything transparent here. Elizabeth was completely shocked because she was indeed in space, and she wasn't alone. There were 10,000 such people with her, who had been in hibernation in their chambers since the mission began many years ago. Elizabeth started checking the information, from which she learned that her husband Leo is also present in a chamber. Now all the information started appearing on Elizabeth's screen, which she had never been commanded before. In all the information, Elizabeth is shown an experiment in which she was able to see herself. In that experiment, the same mouse is present that was left inside the mess, and in the same way many mice are left inside it. Whatever mouse clears the mess, all its genetics and memories are transferred into the clone's body. And when that cloned mouse is left inside the mess, it clears the mess in one go because all its old memories of a mess have been cleared long ago. Now all these experiments are also being applied on humans, with which we know that the old woman who is appearing on the screen is not someone else but Elizabeth, and who is constantly talking to Elizabeth on call. She is the old version of herself who was still present on Earth, meaning the lady who is present in the chamber is Elizabeth's clone, and Elizabeth's clone is also present inside her. All the genetics and memories of Elizabeth were present, so Elizabeth gradually remembered everything, meaning that Elizabeth's husband Leo's clone is also present in this place, in which all the memories of Elizabeth's husband Leo were present before dying, and this is the reason why Leo said to Elizabeth before dying that we will meet soon. Now Elizabeth understands all the things related to Elizabeth's clone. Elizabeth, who was quite distressed, noticed that the oxygen in her chamber was now steadily decreasing. She had reached up to level 4, which signaled to Elizabeth that Helen would soon be the first to arrive. Elizabeth commanded Milo not to open the chamber door, and now she herself was starting the process of entering hypersleep, meaning she needed to correct her oxygen to level 2 for hypersleep. Otherwise, she would succumb within a short time. Elizabeth equipped herself with all the equipment and waited for the oxygen to be at level 2. But the shocking thing happened when she saw that the oxygen level had dropped below 2, meaning it was now completely depleted. At that moment, Elizabeth asked Milo through the chamber's AI system, as he had mentioned that there were many chambers like hers in this place, if there were also some chambers where humans were no longer present. Milo replied, "Yes, there are many such chambers present." So Elizabeth asked if she could transfer the oxygen from those chambers to hers. Milo said, "Yes, you can certainly do that, but you'll have to command me." Elizabeth's condition had deteriorated so much that she slowly gave the command. Shortly after that, Milo started transferring oxygen from another chamber into Elizabeth's chamber, and her entire body began to enter hyper-sleep gradually, covering her like all the others. Now, the oxygen level in her chamber had returned to normal, just like all the other chambers. With this, we departed into space after many years, showing a scene where Elizabeth and all the clones of other humans reached another planet. And the mission of all of them was successful in transferring human civilization from one planet to another. In this way, our adventurous story ends happily.